And this is fascinating to me. The interesting thing here is that he does not hide this ambition. In fact, he very often, states it directly, or he's not very careful about not stating it. One of the most famous examples of this comes from his book, 0 to 1. In this book, he writes something that could be summarized as competition is for losers, I want monopoly, period. Now, at first glance, that sounds like some kind of business provocation, But if you look more closely at the argument behind it, it's actually revealing something deeper about how he thinks. He thinks that competition creates instability. So in competitive markets, companies constantly challenge each other, power shifts, profit sharing, stuff like that. There's a lot of outcome uncertainty. But monopoly obviously eliminates that instability. So a monopoly is like a company that has solved a problem so effectively that others can't really compete with it. So it dominates. It dominates some kind of space. It sets the rules. It defines the environment in which things operate. So when Thiel praises monopoly, he isn't just praising economic success, he's praising the stabilization of power, a stable system, a system that others have to operate within. And you see the same kind of thinking in some of his political remarks. For example, he wrote a pretty famous essay in 2009 where he said, I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. Now, like I said, that statement is probably shocking to people, but I mean, it doesn't shock me because I also think democracy is stupid. But what's interesting is that Thiel's he's framing these ideas not as provocations, but as observations about how power actually works. So he tends to approach politics in a way like an engineer approaches systems, looking for structural dynamics, looking for leverage points, looking for ways that order can be maintained or reorganized. And I actually kind of vibe with that thinking. Just the message is very different for me, because this is, I guess, where the philosophical side of Thiel has to become visible, because he doesn't just talk about markets and technology. He also references political philosophy. So he's written essays discussing thinkers like Leo Strauss, Carl Schmitt, and René Girard. These are not casual references. These are thinkers that are concerned with deep questions about power, about conflict, about order, and about violence. And also, I would say about the fragility of political systems.